These are the most absurd Family Guy episodes of all time. Starting off, we have this splendid source. Chris comes home to inform his parents that he got suspended from school for saying some bad words. Peter and Lois are called to the school where they learn from the principal that Chris told an inappropriate joke in the class, which is why he was suspended. He also blames them for not raising Chris right and allowing a kid to learn such an inappropriate joke in the first place. Sounds like he found the real culprits this time, or at least that's what he thought. But Chris corrects him that he didn't learn this joke from his house, but from their neighbor, Mr. Quagmire. Of course it's Quagmire. Always Quagmire. Later at the drunken clam, Peter tells Quagmire what happened. Quagmire feels guilty and offers to apologize, but Peter doesn't care. He just wants to know the joke.
So this chick meets a guy at a bar, and P.S. your in the sink.
Now, I don't know what was so funny about the joke that Peter shat his pants, but knowing Peter, he would probably die laughing at the stupidest joke ever. Now, it would have been pretty normal if Peter only shat his pants the first time he heard the joke, but every time Quagmire brings up the joke, Peter redecorates the bar floor. Quagmire and Joe milk this prank until Peter steals Quagmire's favorite pants. Gotta protect what you love most. Peter, now deeply curious, wonders where these dirty jokes actually come from. Admit it, you've thought about it too. Who writes them? Who keeps them alive? So Peter announces the dumbest genius idea ever. And this is how the journey to find the source of all dirty jokes starts. The splendid source. The quest kicks off by asking Bruce, who first taught Quagmire. Bruce doesn't know either, so they chase the trail from one joke spreader to another until they end up in Virginia. There, a bartender points them to the last guy he heard it from.
Cleveland?
Yes, our old pal Cleveland, missing since season who knows when. Cleveland tags along as they hunt down the next clue, a waiter. But suddenly it turns into a weird action movie. They get attacked by assassins in black, and Joe shows why having a cop on the team is handy. When they finally reach the waiter, he panics and runs, leading them to a creepy abandoned building. A group of armed men kidnaps the group and takes them to meet their secret leader. Soon the group finds themselves at a remote island where they finally meet the dean of the splendid source who controls the supply of world's dirtiest jokes.
So, these are the people who write all the world's dirty jokes?
Indeed they are.
Hey, isn't that Stephen Hawking?
Isn't this whole island just a Temu version of Epstein's Island? But instead of diddling young kids, these famous celebrities write dirty jokes? The boys are surprised to see all of the world's smartest people here placed in a single facility, writing good old dirty jokes.
Not a lot of women.
Yeah, not a lot of women.
Yeah, not a lot of women. After the boys are done touring the facility, they ask the dean to send them back home. But the dean refuses, as they now know the secret, and those who know the secret can't leave this place forever. And just like that, all four of them are imprisoned. But they do not want to let go of their freedom. So they try to escape the prison and steal the plane so that Quagmire can fly them back to Quahog. But the dean catches up to them and is about to put them down when an old man comes out of nowhere and proclaims that he has written the greatest dirty joke ever. However, before he can tell the joke, he dies, and only the piece of paper is left behind. Peter grabs the paper and threatens the guards to back away or else he will burn the paper. For the first time ever, Peter has done something that is not stupid, and that alone. If finding the source of dirty jokes wasn't already absurd enough, the next episode on the list will definitely make you think who the hell is writing these episodes. Seahorse Seashell Party is an episode where Brian ends up consuming some psychedelic mushrooms, which makes him see some truly absurd things. What do you usually do when there's a thunderstorm outside and you are stuck inside the house for hours? Watch YouTube? Play some video games? Scroll through TikTok? Well, that's what a normal person would do. We are talking about Brian here. Bored that he has to stay indoors for the upcoming few hours, Brian decides to open up his secret stash of psychedelic mushrooms which will help him pass the time.
Brian, what are you doing?
Yeah, geez, Stewie. Scared the crap out of me.
What you got there?
These are mushrooms. It's a psychedelic drug. Are you gonna be cool?
Oh, yeah, I'm totally cool about that. So, go ahead.
Well, it's not like the family would even understand him in the first place, although they sometimes do, and probably at the worst time possible. Stewie tries his best to act cool and chill as if it's a normal routine in his life. At first, Brian doesn't really feel anything, so he heads downstairs to hang out with the rest of the family who are just doing stupid things like playing Guess the Song or other family activities that you would normally do if the internet is down for some reason. But soon, the mushrooms start to kick in, and Brian's whole reality falls into shambles. Stewie is worried about Brian, so he follows him behind to only find him standing in front of the mirror, holding a scissor in his hands.
I'm gonna cut my ear off to prevent World War II.
Kids, that's why you should never do drugs. Stewie helps Brian by stitching his ear back as he constantly nags him for doing drugs. But Brian is lost in his own world, so nothing goes into his ears.
Lesbians and deaf women wear the same clothes.
That doesn't make sense. One of them doesn't want to hear a man, the other one can't. Stewie calms down Brian and tries to make him fall asleep, but Brian is too afraid that he might die if he falls asleep, which ends up making him an insomniac. And if things weren't already terrifying enough for Brian, his delusions kick in once again, and this time it's in the form of a weird-looking hell that's straight out of some Chinese/Buddhist mythology. After seeing that, I'm afraid that I won't ever see some sleep. Brian's nightmare has just started as he finds himself in hell surrounded by weird-looking creatures who are in the form of his family and neighbors. Whether it's Peter being slowly roasted over a fire singing nursery rhymes, or a naked Lois who entices him for sex but is actually a demon in disguise, or getting eaten by a demon bird quagmire. Everything is horrifying and straight out of the imagination of some sick. Fortunately, the effects soon wear off and Brian becomes normal, or at least somewhat normal. But what's not normal is the episode Switch the Flip, where Stewie exchanges bodies with Brian in order to win the bet that he can fix his miserable life by getting a job and a girlfriend in a single day. The episode starts with Peter bringing home a knockoff version of Alexa, which causes Brian to have a meltdown as he rants about how technology has ruined this generation and how no one wants to talk to real humans anymore.
Our society is doomed. People and technology are a bad match, just like moms and Radiohead.
You know what else is a bad match? Your relationship with your parents. Even though Brian was just complaining about how terrible technology is for society, he actually tries talking to Brandy. Yeah, that's the name of this knockoff Alexa. He realizes that it might not be that bad.
Maybe you are useful, but I bet you can't answer this question. Brandy, what is love?
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. No more. Putting aside my awful singing, Brian completely falls in love with Brandy. So much that he ends up doing whatever she tells him to do. From buying stupid hats to ordering every useless item from Amazon, Brian obliges to Brandy's suggestions as if she is the only thing that matters to him in this world. So much for the guy who was just yapping that society is doomed because no one wants to talk to real people anymore. All the over-the-top purchases cause Brian to go into debt, so the bank takes away everything from him, even Brandy, which leaves him with nothing and no one. Brian is depressed because he is such a mess who messes up everything that he touches. But Stewie argues that he wouldn't be such a mess if he actually tried to make his life better by getting a better job and maybe a faithful love of his life. Seeing that Brian isn't convinced, Stewie makes a bet with Brian that he can change his whole life if he gets to spend a day in his body.
So when you said spend a day in my body, you were being literal?
That's right, Brian.
When has Stewie been not literal in this show, Brian? From planning to kill Lois to getting pregnant with Brian's babies, he has always been literal. Stewie decides to skip the small talk and asks Brian to step into the machine as he switches the flip.
I think it worked.
We did it! We switched bodies!
Wow, this is really weird.
Of course, the first thing Stewie does after switching bodies is to suck Brian's thing. What will this baby not do but admit that he is zesty? After switching bodies, Stewie now has to go out and get a job, and he has just the right place in his mind.
Welcome to Poetry 101. I'm Professor Griffin. Please open your books to the introduction, which defines what poetry is. Now rip it out.
Bro thinks he is John Keating. But unfortunately, real life isn't like the movies, so the students reject his idea as they don't want to waste their $400 book because a sicko said to tore it off. Depressed from the failure of his first job, Stewie heads to the Drunken Clam, where he meets a prostitute who takes him to the toilet to do the dirty deed with him. Stewie is terrified, so he runs away as her pimp chases after him for the money. After his miserable day, Stewie returns home and tells Brian that he doesn't want to do it anymore.
There's nothing I can do with this body. Just a few more seconds and we'll be back to normal.
If things were truly meant to be normal, this episode wouldn't be on this list. Just when the machine starts, Peter and Chris end up walking into them while fighting with each other. This causes all four of them to exchange bodies with each other, as Stewie is now Peter and vice versa. Brian and Chris also exchange places, and just like his brother, Brian also holds deep desires to suck his own thing. But the real problem is to make Peter calm down, who is having a panic attack after seeing switching bodies with Stewie. Fortunately, Brian and Stewie fool him easily by playing a few tricks on him. Now that everyone has calmed down, they need to fix up this whole mess.
Oh my god, the machine's been damaged! It's broken! Swapping 4 bodies must have overloaded its system!
Stewie needs time to fix the machine, but he doesn't get any, as Lois grabs him away for a couple counseling to improve their intimate life. Stewie, who is now in Peter's body, can't do anything that will make her suspicious, so he just accepts his fate and lets her take him.
Brian, you've got to help me! Lois signed us up for some perverse PP-related class on the female orgasm. She's crazed.
Wow.
Brian is more than ready to help Stewie fix the machine and take his place so that he can finally bone Lois, even if it's in Peter's body. While Stewie is fighting for his innocence, Brian hurries with the machine and the others to fix up things. But on their way, they crash into an electric pole, which causes the machine to connect to the town's electric grid, which switches the whole town into one another. One thing leads to another, but in the end, Brian finally fixes the machine and switches bodies with Peter right before Stewie's innocence can be taken away from him.
You didn't listen to a word Dr. Johann said, did you?
No, I did not.
Stewie was traumatized badly in the previous episode, and Brian ultimately got the last laugh. But in the episode Brian and Stewie, things get extremely absurd when the two of them get stuck in a safety deposit with no way out for an entire weekend. Brian and Stewie are at the Quahog Bank safety deposit room because Brian wanted to take out some stuff that he had placed there. However, the duo soon find themselves stuck in the room when the door closes as it's closing time for the bank. If things weren't already so terrible enough, Stewie ends up soiling his pants.
Did you just crap your diaper?
I got scared when the door closed.
Brian was already having a headache because of their predicament, but now he also has to deal with the awful smell of a baby's diaper. But our genius Stewie has an idea on how to fix this problem.
Eat it.
What?
Eat my poo, Brian.
Stewie argues that dogs eat their own poop, so why can't he eat his? Brian obviously won't ever eat Stewie's poop, so he tells Stewie that he would rather get shot in the head than to eat someone's shit. Stewie gives him what he asked for as he runs towards Brian's safety deposit box to grab the gun. He points it at his head and threatens Brian to lick his diapers clean.
Don't you have your cell phone with you?
You're right.
All this time they had an easy way out, yet they had to make things difficult for each other. Stewie takes out his phone and realizes the battery is only enough for a single call. Brian expects Stewie to call 911, but instead Stewie calls the designer shop as he wants to return the $3,000 jacket that he bought 2 weeks ago. This pisses off Brian, who takes the phone away from him only to realize that the battery is already dead. This causes Brian to slap Stewie in the face as he reminds him how much of a brat he is and that he should have corrected him before they ever got to this point. As much as I know that Stewie is at fault here, but he is just a baby, Brian can't bear to see him like this, so he makes amends by accepting to clean Stewie's diaper for him. This whole scene is so gross that Stewie ends up puking whatever he ate a few hours ago. Instead of just letting it sit there, he presents it to Brian as if it's some delicacy.
Got some dessert for you.
You gotta be kidding me.
Good luck to those who'll be watching this video while eating food. After everything is cleaned up, Stewie takes a nap beside Brian, and when he wakes up, he finds Brian drinking. Stewie also takes a few steps, which causes him to get drunk as well. After the whole drunken shenanigans end, Stewie finally gathers the courage to ask Brian why he has a gun in his safety deposit.
I keep it in case I ever want to commit suicide, okay? Sometimes it's all too much.
As much as this episode was absurd, it was as real as it could get. Seeing Brian open up to Stewie about his depression and suicidal thoughts, they felt so personal, as I could almost relate to him. We all could. On the topic of getting stuck, let's talk about the time when Brian and Stewie accidentally shrinks themselves to microscopic size, making their small problems extremely big. The episode Big Trouble in Little Quahog starts with Stewie using a dog whistle to annoy Brian, which causes him to snatch it away from him and place it at a height that Stewie can't reach.
I can't believe the nerve of that dog. Teaching me a lesson about size?
This show really knows how to mock Tom Cruise's height every other episode. Stewie is angry at Brian for making fun of short height, so he decides to create a shrink machine that will turn Brian into the size of a bug. Classic Stewie revenge.
Well, hello there, little guy.
What the hell did you do to me, Stewie?
Brian can't believe Stewie would do something like this, so he orders him to quickly revert him back to his original size. After humbling Brian about how size doesn't matter, Stewie finally gets back to making him normal. Before he can do that, Brian gets grabbed by a rat, which flees into its rat hole. Stewie has no choice left but to also turn himself into a little guy, so that he can save Brian from getting eaten alive by a rat.
I'll have what she's having.
After saving Brian, Stewie and Brian make it out of the rat hole and are heading towards the machine when Lois comes out of nowhere and sucks them into the vacuum cleaner. There, they go into the trash can. Now, being small means that they can't really jump off the trash can or they will just die. So Stewie grabs a baggie and uses that to fly down to the ground. Brian, on the other hand, is only left with some tampons. So he just jumps down without anything.
Which one did you go with?
Neither. I was hoping to kill myself.
After getting down, Stewie and Brian quickly climb the ladder to their room, which was conveniently placed there because, why not? Back in the room, Stewie asks Brian to hit the tiny button while he changes some things on the machine to make them normal. However, Brian messes up things as he passes the wrong button, causing both of them to shrink to microscopic size. Yeah, Stewie, you deserved it for whatever is happening right now. Who on earth makes a tiny button that makes you big, but the big button that says tiny makes you tiny? Poor Brian, suffering from consequences of whatever this mad baby plans every now and then. The world of microorganisms is fascinating to say. Aside from the fact that there are monstrous bacteria and viruses who attack everything that doesn't look the part, fortunately, even in this cruel world, there exist water bears who are peaceful and kind. As for those who don't know what these water bears are, they are small microorganisms who are known to survive even in the vacuum of space. Alright, let's stop the nerdy talk and move on to the episode. The water bears are in dire need of a water source, which gives Stewie an idea. With the help of water bears, they make their way to the machine and fix it through the small micro-level wires. Now, the real problem is pressing the button on the laptop, and our genius Stewie has an idea. He uses the dust mites chasing after them and uses their combined weight to put enough weight on the button for it to be pressed. The plan works, and both of them return to normal. However, there is one big problem remaining. The dust mites that were chasing after them, they also become abnormally big. Good for them, Tiny Tom Cruise comes to rescue them and saves them from the giant bugs. The giant bugs are then killed by toxic gases that Peter has called the pest exterminator for. It's not the first time that Stewie has misused a machine to mess with Brian, as in episode Stewie is Enciente. Stewie makes himself pregnant with Brian's babies, which leads to a whole load of chaos and drama. So make sure to tune in as things are about to get absurd. The episode starts with Stewie realizing that Brian is becoming more and more distant away from him. When all hope is lost, Stewie notices Joe spending happy time with his family, even though they were always fighting before their daughter Susie was born.
That's it, Rupert. That's how Brian and I are going to improve our relationship. We're going to have a baby.
I don't think that's possible, Stewie. First of all, you're just a baby. And second, males can't get pregnant. Now that Stewie has an idea, he needs to implement it. For that, he creates a machine that will give him an artificial womb and then impregnate him with Brian's DNA that he stole from his used utensils.
We do not judge the machine. We do not judge Stewie.
That's not how society works, my dear child. The society will always judge you, no matter what. After the fertilization is successful, Stewie breaks down the news to Brian, who loses his mind as he can't believe Stewie would do such a thing. What has Stewie not done, Brian? When will you learn?
People are gonna think I had sex with a male baby and then got him pregnant.
Oh, thank you for finding a way to make it sound horrible.
After learning why Stewie did it, Brian accepts his face as he can't do anything but oblige whatever Stewie demands from him. Day by day, Stewie gets one step closer to giving birth, so to make sure that everything is fine, they visit the hospital for a pre-birth inspection. After the inspection, everything turns out to be fine, so Brian and Stewie leave the hospital and head out to do some shopping for the baby. After shopping, Stewie is hungry, so he heads out to a restaurant with Brian, and that's where his water breaks. With no time to waste, Brian puts Stewie in his car and rushes him to the hospital, but they are too late, and Stewie ends up delivering the babies in the car. All the babies turn out to be genetic failures, where most end up dying because they don't have any functioning organs, while the healthy ones are just too much to take, are for a year-old baby and a jobless dog. In the end, Brian and Stewie decide to just give the remaining ones up for adoption and make their life carefree once again. Giving birth to horrific abomination is not something new in Stewie's life, as in the episode Da Boom. The whole world becomes ruined after a nuclear fallout, and Stewie just happens to touch nuclear waste, which turns him into an egg-laying octopus monster. The episode starts with an absurd fight between Peter and the chicken, which leads to Peter learning about Y2K. Peter is terrified of this news and immediately starts constructing a nuclear bunker in his house and storing food and water for days. He even prepares radiation-proof suits for everyone and plans to hide with his family in the basement of their house. Lois isn't happy with whatever Peter is doing and tells him that the world won't be ending. But Peter doesn't want to give up on his family, so he lures them into the basement by giving them empty promises. In the basement, time ticks down slowly as everyone nervously waits for the doomsday. I don't know whether I should say fortunately or unfortunately, but Peter's prediction indeed comes true, and Y2K happens, causing the entire world to collapse back into Stone Age. For the first time ever, Peter was right in his life, so he doesn't let go of the chance to rub it in Lois's face.
We were wrong about the end of the world and you were right. Can we please just drop it?
Peter's decision saved their entire family as everyone else became mutants and horrible abominations. Soon, the family runs out of whatever food and drinks they had stored. To avoid dying out of hunger, the family heads out on a journey to find the Twinkies factory, as it's the only thing that is said to survive even in the nuclear fallout. They make their way through various different groups of people and finally arrive at the Twinkie factory. With so much food, the Griffins decide to erect a new city in this place, which they name New Quahog. What a unique choice for a name. Did I forget to mention that Stewie had somehow managed to get infected by the nuclear waste, which turned him into an octopus monster who reproduced at an astronomical rate, recreating countless versions of himself? The episode ends with a shocking reveal that this entire thing was just a dream. Who could have guessed it? You can't really guess anything in Family Guy, except that whenever Stewie and Brian do time traveling, they always end up messing things up. This is what happens in the episode Back to Pilot, where Brian and Stewie time travel to the past to search for Brian's chew ball, but end up altering the past to prevent 9/11, which messes up the whole world. The episode starts with Brian remembering his favorite chew ball, which he buried in the backyard but forgot the location. Stewie agrees to help him find it by time traveling to the past at the exact day when he buried it.
Brian, there's one rule of time travel, and that is, do not alter the past in any way or the consequences could be dire.
And that's exactly what Brian do. In order to become a hero, Brian tells his past self about 9/11 and how to prevent it. After learning the location of his buried chew ball, Brian and Stewie return back to the present, and fortunately everything is still alright. That's until Lois comes into the room.
Brian, there you are. Come quick. They're about to announce the unveiling of your statue on the news.
Statue? For what?
For stopping the 9/11 terrorist attacks and saving our country.
Imagine if the tower still collapsed even though no plane hit them. Would have been way more hilarious in my opinion. Stewie is extremely upset at Brian for what he did. Brian defends himself by saying that nothing has changed. That's until they hear the news and learn that George Bush didn't win the 2004 elections because there was no war for him to get support for. This causes a civil war to erupt between the East Coast and West Coast, plunging the whole country into a nuclear fallout.
Brian, you might want to look outside.
Oh my God!
Remember when I said let this man have legs? I guess Family Guy writers did hear my plea. Brian finally comes to a realization that how much of a mess he has made, so he requests Stewie to fix it. Stewie thought that this will fix everything, but it only ends up making everything even worse. The two time travelers interact with each other, creating a paradox which ends up creating an endless cycle of time travelers traveling to the past, stopping each other from stopping the other time travelers.
Stop! Don't do anything!
Oh, for God's sake! We're from the further future!
And it goes on until there are hundreds of Stewies and Brians in the backyard of the Griffins. One of the Stewies finally acts up and stops everyone from doing anything. He tells them to just go to their timelines and don't do anything. He then goes back to a further past and meets the first Stewie and Brian and stops them from ever interacting with anything.
Get the back in your time machine!
Who are you? Never mind who I am! Just get back in your time machine, get back to the present, and stay there!
That's one way to fix a time paradox. Remember when I said guns are the solution to all problems? Well, it's have never been more true. Although the time paradox is fixed, but since this version of Stewie and Brian were created by a chronological tangent, they will cease to exist now that everything is fixed. Rest in peace, this version of Brian and Stewie. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. Well, that's one way to sum up this video. Until next time, see ya.